Good morning, self-lovers. Welcome back to the Self-Love Show. This is your beautiful co-host here, Dawn Light, and my beautiful sister here is also co-host, Trish Wright. And for those that tune in weekly, we are so grateful to have you. And for those that are new, welcome. We're so excited. This is an amazing show. I'm about to introduce an awesome guest. And just in case you don't know, for our viewers, we have a YouTube channel and we're on all the podcast platforms. So Spotify, Apple, all the places you can find us. Go there. Please like, share, and subscribe because we have over 2 years worth of amazing content, gems, jewels, places you can work your process and really deepen your self-love journey. And there's such a wide, umbrella of how we apply love to ourselves, and self-love is such a great topic. And there's lots of ways to, approach your healing journey. So without further ado, I'm going to mention and just, welcome our beautiful guest. We have an amazing sister here. Her name is Lucid Dawn, and I'm going to read her bio. So welcome, Lucid, and I'm going to give you some love by reading your bio. So weaving the wisdom of non-dual tantric philosophy, all aspects of yoga, witchcraft, and decades of discoveries in many healing modalities, we are offered next-level self-love through daily pleasure practices and worldview that makes it easier to love self and all beings no matter what. In these times, we're all being invited or forced to look at and dance with our shadows. The sicknesses hidden underneath our societal structures and constructs of mind are being revealed in order to heal them. Divine love calls on us now to awaken to our power, to use our creativity, voices, and bodies to live and love more fully, because we want to and because we can. Get inspired today to begin and deepen practices that heal and connect you more profoundly with self, earth, perceived other, and spirit. Lucid Dawn is a synthesist. She lives to help life thrive. As a trauma-informed yoga therapist with over 30 years of study and healing practices, she weaves the teachings of yoga, movement, breath, meditation, and non-dual tantric philosophy with ritual and practice that acknowledge season, celestial movements, and phases of life. She includes the use of wisdom of sound healing and expressive arts, neuroscience, nutrition, essential oils, nonviolent communication, earth magic, energy medicine, and lifeline healing technique. She is dedicated to embracing all beings and all aspects of being for a full celebration of life, and including courageously facing death. Powerful.
Well, thank you. Thank you for reading all of that. That was my bio plus. I think description of maybe what will happen today. I'm always just opening to divine, seeing what's going to come through. So excited to be here with you both.
Well, we like to share. There's a lot of people who are not watching live, but also watching or listening maybe months down the road on Spotify or the radio station. So it's always kind of just nice to have like the extra and yeah, what you wrote and what you shared, and it's all inspired. You never know what's going to happen here. It's always just a dynamic, super dynamic conversation.
Yeah.
Where I'd love to start is let's sort of have your definition of self-love, because everybody has their own personal definition. They have their own understanding of it. They've got, ideas or judgments of what self-love looks like. A sex coach might say self-love looks a very different way. Just what is self-love and what is the grand next level to that? What does that mean?
Yeah, thank you. I actually wanted to speak to that because at some point I thought, it's kind of weird. They have this self-love show and I'm like, my thing's next level self-love. Like, I didn't mean it like that as far as like what you have. I've seen a lot of what you are presenting. It's so beautiful. It is self-love. So I want to speak to that first, like what next level self-love meant for me. I have been on a healing journey since I was about 17. I grew up in an abusive household, was a suicidal drug addict kid since I was like 10, 11, 12. That all began, not the abuse, but the suicidal drug addict part. And so having been on a healing journey since I was 17, and I just turned 50 a couple weeks ago, I had thought that I know self-love. Like, I've been working self-love for so long. And then pandemic happened, and my partner of 22 years and I went separate ways. And I am also polyamorous, so there was another beloved in my life as well, and that got kind of rocky over the time of pandemic as well. And I have spent more time alone in these past 2 years than I have my whole life, because I come from a big family and I've always been gathering people around me, whether it's like my theater troupe or my circus, or I create events and circles and things like that. So that wasn't happening so much. And in the past couple of years, I really had to learn for myself, next level self-love, like noticing my tendencies to want to pull people in and around me, and not being able to, and feeling like something's missing. I'm not okay. I feel something missing, that just grief, a lot of grief and loneliness. When I used to like being alone, because I'm a writer and I love to read, and I'm just a weirdo. I like to sing and talk to myself. So usually I'm okay with being alone, but this was like next level being alone. So I really had to learn a next level self-love. And so for me, that became very simple little things, like literally holding my own hand, holding my own face, buying myself flowers, things like that, that seem little, but they were like something I felt myself wishing that I had somebody there to do. So self-love in general, I would say I really learned through lots of different healing practices, but most especially yoga, like just being with my body and honoring and even worshiping myself, like in the non-dual tantric practices, like really honoring myself as divine, and spending time in the mirror, doing mirror practices, and like bejeweling and decorating myself, not because I have to so that I feel okay to go out of the house, but just because it feels good to spend that time with myself and do it because it feels good. Like I decorate my altar or my environment, doing that for myself in the same way with myself, honoring this temple.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's that. I mean, I'll pause.
Well, I really want to acknowledge you. That's, very deep process, what you just described. And I know that many of our viewers and listeners out there can really relate to like going through the pandemic and having major shift, and then the grief and the processing and the recalibration with the divine inside, the self inside, right? The greater self, not the small self, like the ego part of self, but the like highest part of self, God inside our being, and I think that it was such a gift, even though it had been challenging. It sounds like it offered you such a powerful opportunity to recalibrate to like that deeper level of unconditional love that is inside of you, the loving.
Yeah, very much.
Mhm.
It's when I was hearing your story, about like your early child abuse and those types of things. I think that you have a couple sisters here who have also very resonant experiences. Um, and that's kind of where the journey begins, is what does self-love look like? What does it really mean to show up and choose yourself?
Mhm.
And that's one of the things that I walk a lot of my clients through, is the art of choosing oneself without being without the guilt of like the social program, right? Of, well,
Mhm.
choose yourself, then you are selfish and inconsiderate and bad and wrong, and that I teach them how that love is not sacrifice, that love is radical acceptance, and love is showing up for you. um, and so I love that you learn to be your own lover. And I
Mhm.
think that's an incredibly crucial and vital part of self-love, is like treating yourself the way you want a lover to treat you.
Mhm.
Like it's so powerful. One of my clients right now is really kind of exploring why she'd easily spend money on her children or her husband or her sisters or her friends or whatever, and that the guilt and the concern and the challenge around just getting her hair done. She hasn't got her hair done in 2 years. It's like the same money, but the stop and the crunch and the struggle around taking care of herself. And I was like, well, that's a symptom of what we're working on right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. That motherhood thing. I'm also a mother. My child just turned 23. So, like, as I parted with her father, it's kind of her at the same time going off in the world. So suddenly, like, oh, just me. Who am I now without all these identifications? But, as you said that, I did think I remembered how I wanted to go to witch camp, and everybody, like, I had so many friends who were telling me, "You have to go to witch camp. I can't believe you haven't been to witch camp yet." And I sent my daughter to witch camp for years before I went because I'm a mom, even though I had heard about it for years and wanted to go. It's like, well, you're supposed to send your kid to camp, right? That's the thing. So I sent her to camp for years until she just kept coming home like radiant and glowing and just more magical than ever. And I'm like, all right, I'm missing something. So finally sent myself, and now I can't go without it. But I also wanted to just back up a moment there in the beginning of the self love journey. You spoke to something that made me think of this too. And even as I was learning to love myself in the moment and my body and overcome like eating disorders after getting sober and all that, um, there was still this idea that at one time I was bad or broken, or that there were parts of myself or ways that I'd been or whatever that were unlovable.
Mhm.
And um, I had this experience once in pigeon pose, just like went really deep into my hips. And, I've had a lot of sexual trauma. So it used to be something I would kind of run away from. And in that pose one day, I was just like wrestling with being there, but just made myself just, okay, what is this discomfort? What is this that I want to run away from? This like pool of sadness opened up. And I saw myself back then, like at kind of the bottom where I was just smoking cocaine every day and living on the streets, and no one knew if I was dead or alive. And I saw another young girl in the same terrible house that I was in for a little while. And I thought, oh my God, she's so young and beautiful. What is she doing here? And I looked back and saw myself and was like, "Oh, I was too. Like, but I was so broken then. I came back out of it thinking, God, I was so broken then, and just really wanted to embrace myself. And shared this experience with my teacher. And she said, do you know the concept of anahata, or what that means in yoga? So in yoga, anahata is the heart, and it is the heart chakra, and it literally means the unbreakable. And when she reminded me that, like, I got what she was saying to me. I was like, yeah, okay, I know this. We are never broken. We are never broken as we might feel. We're always whole at our essence of who we are. This beautiful fullness of being, this divine self, is unbreakable. And that is the part that the practice is helping us to recover, to uncover, to peel away the layers of conditioning and constructs of mind and story and the protector parts that we develop. Even those, like, all of them are to be loved and embraced, because that is truly the way we heal and become one with ourselves again, and that wholeness of the anahata, or the heart. So that's the self-love.
I really absolutely resonate with what you're saying. I'm a child abuse survivor as well, and I really did relate from that lens of I'm broken for a long time. I had to, I'm also in my 40s. I'm 47, and it took me a long time to break out of that rejection pattern, of where I saw life through a lens of rejection, or I saw life through a lens of I'm broken and how come they have it so good? They're whole, I would always see other people in that light, but not myself, and it was a long journey of continuous study, continuous self-care, continuous choosing things that would possibly give me another level of healing, until finally it was like peeling an onion, just like layer after layer after layer. And finally I'd gotten down to the core. And by the time I arrived in graduate school, that was really what cracked it open for me. But it was all the other things that I did that led up to that. Like, it was a long journey. And in that was even coming home to the realization that, all of it is all played, roles. Like, my father and I, it was spiritual agreement, like, between us to come in, and I incarnated into that human family for those learnings, for those teachings, for all the things I experienced. It's all for me and for my awakening. It's all happening for us, right? And it's serving us on some level. And even though for our viewers, you may be going through a very challenging time at this time in your life, or maybe coming out of a challenging time. And, it's really an opportunity to see, like, gosh, what is this tied to from other occurrences in my life or other material? Because everything is an opportunity to re-explore our own conditioning, our own mindset, our own familial patterns that come conditioned in through our DNA, through the family systems we're born into. And it's an opportunity to really explore the unresolved emotional material in the psyche and in the body, because that's what it becomes an attractor field inside our system. And that unresolved material will draw and attract the exact people, places, circumstances, and situations that will create an opportunity to feel the unresolved material. And so it's amazing when you start to live and know this, because then you're aware of, like, everything as an opportunity. And that subtle shift can create such a massive shift in your life, to start to see it as, oh, this crunchy thing that absolutely sucks is serving me. Holy moly. How can I look at it differently? How can I hold myself differently? How can I show up for myself more with self-love here? How can I slow down and give myself the self-care I need, and those involved? Because everyone involved is playing a role for our awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And when you let go of the conditioning and the what you made it mean back then, way back then it cracks it open, and it relieves the person that's involved with you in the dynamic, and they're free to go. They're free to shift out of that energetic space of holding that position for you to see the consciousness you're showing up in.
Yeah.
Isn't that powerful?
It's awesome. It's awesome.
You know,
And no, please, Trish, thanks.
and what there's so many things I want to share here.
Please do.
What all of this reminds me is the Rumi quote it's our task is not to seek for love, but to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you would build against it. And the way that I think about this is that it's not just the way that I've built like barriers to love, but it's also and some things that you put in, Lucid. I'm just piggybacking off of you both. Is like what you put in is that it is a program. So some of you know that I'm constantly looking at racism, sexism, domestic violence on a sociological view. So I'm like from here and looking back, and I'm also doing a lot of historical research of how did we get here? So understanding how women became women and became this social role and this social construct. So when people, if you ever hear when people say gender is a social construct, this is what they mean, is that it's a role that we've been taught to play. And I don't think that it feels uncomfortable for everyone. Some people want to play that and it feels safe for them. Some of us, I don't like to play the game because I like exploring the vastness of humanity. So any place that I find is like, ooh, it's uncomfortable, I'm like, let's lean in there. But what I really want to bring in is that there's not just the ways that we have created barriers to love in our childhood as strategies to get our needs met, but there's also social programs or conditioning that also creates systems of not being able to love self. So we'll call it like the social beauty standard. That's one of the ways that it's a social program or a social condition that if anyone who doesn't fit into this needs to not love self. So if you have weight, if you have extra weight, then the sort of childlike body of a supermodel, then you can't love yourself and you're not worthy of love and you'll be excluded from, which is all like, it's very painful stuff. Or if you're a man and you're supposed to play this stoic, hard version of, and I don't know about anybody else, but this is one of the things that I had to really look at to find deeper love for myself. It's like if I'm playing a role or if I'm participating in this way of life that feels deeply inauthentic and actually feels really harmful to me, then that's not self-love for me. Like I was like, ooh, I want to cross-dress sometimes. You know, I want to like let out my inner man, or I want to not sit like a lady or be passive or meek. I don't want to do that because that's not empowering. So one of the things, and I'm going to wrap up here. One of the things that it's also like a historical conditioning is that they taught us, they meaning like lots of different places, especially the Catholic Church, have taught us that we are separate from God. And this is one of the big pieces that is really harmful for humans, that they're separate from each other and separate from God. If you have a God that strikes you down and harms you, then you are now separate from, and you are not a whole being, you are now half of. So when we carry this around from my grandmother and her grandmother and for years, where we are bad and wrong just for being alive, that creates a system of shame and harm and not enoughness. Ding and rant.
It's true. Yes, ouch, ouch, ouch. Yeah, you hit on so much there. It's it, it's really that's where we are coming back around, like where it all began for me as well. Like as a young person, I felt like I am so many different people. There's all these ways of being in my head. Why am I being told I'm supposed to be that way or I'm supposed to be this way? And and I don't feel that way. Like I felt like a boy when I was young, and my first love was a female-bodied person who actually didn't identify with being female, and um, so since I was very young, I've just been and my cousins were brown skinned kids, and I just never thought it was a different thing until like third grade when some new kid came to school and there wasn't many brown skinned kids in our school, and I hadn't even noticed that, but people were like, "Oh, the new kid's black," and I'm like, so what? Like, what's the big deal? And just like how humans, I guess, just tend to do that, want to like separate and divide and categorize everyone. It's just never been my way. I've felt the multitudes of my being, and I've been told I was crazy since I was a kid. So I just thought, okay, I am crazy. Like I have all these voices and all these ways of being, and I should probably try to like choose one, like that's what we get told, or it appears like you said earlier, I think, John, that's how it seems like other people are. Like they're all one, they got it figured out, and meanwhile I'm over here like, "Wah." and um, and so that has taken a lifetime. It may continue to take a lifetime of figuring out, all the multitudes that I am, that we all are. And that is such a huge part of my work, is to give people that permission and play and just a sense of curiosity about the self, so that we can not reject parts of ourselves that others have rejected. Yeah,
And parts of themselves.
yeah,
they have rejected parts of themselves.
Mhm.
yeah,
Which inherently just projects out to rejecting parts of us.
uh-huh, yeah. Which just perpetuates, as soon as any of us are doing that to ourselves, we're given that vibe to everyone around us, if not teaching our kids and our students and all of that. And so, yeah, really embracing all of it, embracing all of it, all of it, all of it.
Mm. I'm just recalling this powerful statement I heard my teacher, Mary Holnick, say this past weekend. Um, Vulnerability is perfect protection.
Mm.
Isn't that beautiful? It's like it's the true way to allow ourselves, because there is no need to protect against something that's defensiveness, and that's the slight barrier inside. But when we lean back into our true authenticity and vulnerability and allowing the heart to open and be in, that is what really will protect us, because that's where the truth resides.
Yeah, this goes back to that idea of the anahata. Like, we have this idea of staying safe, and none of us are ever safe. We can never be sure what's going to happen next. Like as bodies, as psyches, we are not safe. As essence, nature, as spirit, as divine beings, we are always safe.
Yes.
It's untouchable.
The ego is just seeking comfort, security, and control, right? And control is the master addiction of the ego. It will always seek to protect and convince yourself that, oh, that bad thing happened in the past, so it's going to happen again through this scenario. And it's caught in story and conditioning and thought forms and belief structures and limiting thoughts and thought patterns, and it's really the inner work of the greater self inside, the large us, the large self, God's self. It's to continuously lean into that and attune to it, to really attune to the truth, so that you can let go of those misidentifications that just shatter and fall away when you forgive yourself for them. And then that really brings forward the natural byproduct, is the authentic self, which is the natural giftedness of the authentic self, is all the gifts that you were given by spirit, like the unconditional loving, the joy, the gratitude, the bliss, the majesty of your own soul gets to come through and shine through.
I love that we're going to the next level self-love. And one of my, there's people who've been listening for a long time. They know. You might not know, so I'll tell you about it. Dawn certainly knows. But one of the things that I'm constantly teaching people is self-sourcing. Self-sourcing your own needs. Now, there's a couple things that I think that self-love can get really distorted about. And some people are like, oh, self-love is bubble baths and toenail polish, which is, yes, it could be one of those things. Those are physical form, and so is exercise, easy, healthy, and there's a lot of other pieces. And then there's the idea that self-love is arrogance. There's a difference between arrogance and confidence in oneself, and without toning it down to be acceptable to society. Right? This idea that self-love is, you're supposed to love yourself before you love another person, which I don't believe, or that there's this piece of self-love is a solo journey. And I hate to break it to y'all, but we'll get together. Sorry. There's 7.8 billion realities on this planet, and we're all working it out. Now, I think I'd probably love myself deeply. I wouldn't even have the concept of what is not self-love, right? It would just be the way of being. Now, the fact that we're with other people means that that's going to trigger all our stuff. Yay. But the self-love piece is to lean back into the stability and the self-sourcing of your own needs. Now, I don't believe that you can self-source every need, again, because I think that we're all in it together. But self-love is knowing, like learning the awareness of what you need and how you need it and how to ask for it, but how to feel and come back to center in oneself. That's one of my shortened definitions of self-love. Like, for example, some of you know that I've been sick, and it's been very scary for me. Mom is like, what do you need? And I was like, I just need to know that I'm alone, not alone. Like, just text me that I'm not alone. She's like, you're not alone. We're in it together if you want to call. And I'm like, I'm so tired I can't even call, right? So it's finding those moments of self-awareness just to get into. This is the next level self-love, right? So would you like to share a little bit more about the next level, Dawn? Lucid Dawn?
Yeah, sure. Oh, it's that time. Well, I love this idea of the alchemical marriage. So it's often used like in magic, hermetic magic, or tantra, as far as like uniting the male and female of ourselves. It's what's often looked at as. I like to expand that because I think there's been much too much binary and polarity brought in, and to use this in a way that is really about drawing in, again, embracing all aspects of ourselves, including those parts that may be difficult for us, because indeed, a lot of those parts, like, are angry, defensive, catty, judgy, depressive, anxious, all these different parts that may be challenges for us that we're like trying to get rid of or whatever, have been developed to be our protectors. They have been, we're all many beings, right? We're all many, many faceted beings. And these parts have been like exaggerated or gone to an extreme sometimes in order to protect us, because we needed that at some point. And if we need it for a while, sometimes it just becomes what feels like who we are or how we are. And we just think that's just how I am, or it's who I am, or it's how I'm going to be. And we have the opportunity to fall in love with those difficult parts, to learn what they've been trying to do, because all of them have been trying to protect us and help us live life fully. And so I have created ritual, and also kind of through crisis of um, reactivity or getting triggered, meeting these parts and feeling them kind of explode out of me, and wanting to be like, God, I can't believe I'm still like that. I shouldn't be like that after all these years. And then being giving that breakdown in order to break through is how I look at it. And so it really wasn't that long ago that one of these parts showed up for me. And I recognized that it came from so long ago in my childhood, and that I really needed that angry, protective part at that time to keep me safe from people in my life. So whether it's a part of you, a smaller protector part, or whether it is your nature to be more inward, and you want to embrace the part of you that is maybe scary being more outward, um, whatever it is. Um, yeah, I think it's a little too much to get into the alchemical marriage ceremony here right now, but I did give myself a ring and had ceremony with myself on the beach after a grief ritual, and went into the full marriage. But let's start with dating. Let's start with just spending time with ourselves the way that we would want a beloved to. So I've been recognizing that meditation more and more, as even though I meditated for so long, is that place where we have the opportunity to sit with ourselves the way that we would want to sit with a best friend, a beloved, a lover, and really have them look in our eyes and hear our voice and touch our body gently and compassionately, and spend focused, undistracted time with us. And so, if that's what we want from someone else, why don't we give that to ourselves? We're just not conditioned to. And so I want to invite a meditation right now of truly being with yourself. And maybe you can just imagine into this and how you could do this on your own without being led by any voices or distracted by screens or any electronics. But just sitting and bringing a hand to your heart and a hand to your belly, or any areas of the body that are feeling discomfort or pain. This is communication from the body when we feel physical pain or when we feel emotional pain. It's all communication about something that wants attention, that is ready to heal, to move or change. And so I invite you to bring your hands to your body, and as you feel comfortable to, close your eyes, and you can sit back or lay down even if you like, in a way that helps you stay present with yourself. You could look in a mirror if you'd prefer, or close your eyes and just imagine into your own eyes. And look into your eyes like you look into the eyes of your favorite pet or beloved human or baby or a divine image. Maybe you can even imagine yourself on your altar or sitting before you. And just gazing into the eyes. Bring your hands in a very conscious way to yourself. So maybe to bring more awareness into your touch, you could kind of give yourself a little light feather stroke or a little more pressure. even a squeeze, whatever kind of touch you like today. You might inquire with yourself even. Hi, body. Greetings, body. What kind of touch would you like today? How would you like to be held? You can even cross the arms all the way over each other and hold your shoulders or wrap around your body. Let the weight of your arms, your hands really drop into the body. And crossing the limbs and bringing weight onto the body can all be very calming for the nervous system. Just take pause to really receive your own touch, your own hug. And as I spoke to earlier, just even touching your own face can feel so tender, so intimate, or your own ears. And allow yourself to be vulnerable with yourself, to soften and melt into your own hold, into your own loving gaze and embrace. And see if you can feel your breath and the way it's moving and changing how things feel. Really attune to those subtle sensations. And soften your jaw, your tongue. Let any of the social mask fall away. Allow yourself to be very tender. See if you can even sense your heartbeat. And if there's a part of you that you've been feeling challenged with or estranged from, maybe recall that aspect of self or a moment where you didn't like how you showed up. Imagine for a moment, if you will, just holding that part. And greetings, beloved. Thank you for how you've tried to protect me. I'm sorry for how I've pushed you away or ignored you. I'm sorry for any words I said that were harmful. I acknowledge that you just want to help me live safe and full. I want to let you know that you're worthy of love, that I love you, that you are love. And is there anything that you need to feel more loved, to feel held and embraced in the wholeness and fullness of what we are as one beautiful, whole, and healed being? What do you need? What do you want? Maybe that listening will inspire you to write, paint, draw, take that bubble bath, get your nails done, whatever it is. Maybe that listening will take you out into nature where you see the beauty of nature, how everything's always moving and changing, decomposing and rebirthing. And as we watch these little details of nature, you might remember that these cycles are always happening within ourselves. Parts being concealed, dying away, new parts being born, or new ideas or inspirations being born. Little trembling but courageous, vulnerable ways of being, ready to be seen, to be heard. Maybe you can draw that or write that or record that. Are there any daily practices that you could bring in and commit to just for a few days or a week that will nourish this aspect of self, or just the sense of being whole and complete with yourself? Maybe just take a few more breaths and ask if there's anyone else, anything else that wants to be seen or heard. Thank yourself for showing up, for taking this time, this pause to listen, to be with yourself. Thank yourself for being fully present with yourself, with this precious body temple, with all the parts, with that pure, whole essence, nature, the divine being that you are, dancing with all these parts, all these aspects and happenings and experiences. If you've noticed just for a second, that spacious, quiet self that experiences all the parts, that watches the thoughts, that dances with all the feels, that self, that quiet, peaceful, spacious self. This is the divine, the anahata, the unbroken, the unbreakable. This is the true nature, the essence of who you are, of who we all are. And may we fall in love with this divine self again and again as we dance with all the parts and experiences and forget again and again. As I come and blink my eyes open, I see the dancing Shiva behind me, the Nataraj. And that symbol is about that circle of the oneness that we are, the concealing that happens, how we forget the oneness. We open to the anugraha, the grace, the next step in the dance, the revelation, the opening again to remembering the fullness and beauty that we are. We have to contract, to expand, turn in, to open out. These cycles are always happening. So when we find peace with them, life just gets a lot easier. And the more we visit this place, the more easy it is to get to, the more it can be there, even as we struggle with aspects of self or with other beings. And so I wish you time to sit with yourself and honor that beautiful, beautiful being that you are. Thank you for taking this time to play with this today. the light in me sees and celebrates that in you. It's namaste. Thanks, beauties.
Namaste.
I always love meditations that bring the oneness, the connectedness, and forgiveness, and also mellow.
Yeah, thank you for such a beautiful offering to our viewers and us. Thank you.
I love to share it. I find myself getting very vulnerable on this call today. I'm like, oh, emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the space for that.
Tell us a little bit more about how to find you.
Yay. Well, I'm here in the Bay Area in Oakland, and I teach in Oakland and in Berkeley, regular weekly classes at the Green Yogi and at Arise Yoga. And Shamani. And besides that, I am on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, Lucid Dawn Movement and Yoga. I have a Patreon channel where there's even more movement and meditation practices and more well organized there than my YouTube, but there's lots of free stuff on the YouTube. And the Patreon can be for as little as $5 a month, just regular classes, and take requests and all that. And I have 2 online classes a week as well. If you sign up for the Patreon, you get the links and you can just show up whenever you want, or just reach out to me and I'm happy to put you on my calendar so you can get all the calendar or get my newsletter, which I send out kind of regularly, monthly. And you can find that through my website, lucidyoga.com. I'm writing a few books right now. It started out as one book, The Force of Nature. That's kind of my thing. I've been called a force of nature my whole life. I have a course called Force of Nature, and I've been working on a book and a show called that. But then as I'm working on this book, and I extracted a bit this summer for the Soul Play Festival for dispelling the binary, which is a very big deal to me. Dispelling the binaries that keep us all separate and thinking that there's something wrong with us or that we're supposed to be anyway. I've realized it's its own book. It's its own thing. So I'm extracting bits. So there may be 1 or 4 books coming out sometime soon. But yeah, there's also a blog on my website, lots of writing there. I guess that's it for now. I'm a little more in an internal phase as I'm writing right now, but as soon as the books are born, there'll be more retreats and events again, because I do also produce events to gather people together. So yeah, all that. Thank you.
Find all the information that you shared just now about your Patreon, your Instagram, and your YouTube on your website.
Yeah.
Great. So that is lucidyoga.com. LUCIDYOGA.com.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes, wonderful. Great offerings you have, and congratulations to your book and light ahead to that. It sounds like multiple books, so that's exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
Yay! Yeah.
Such a delight to be with you both.
You.
It's a sweet conversation, and it's wonderful because it just gets to be shared out into the world. Self-love gets to be shared out into the world.
Yeah, more self-love for everyone.
Yes, slather it on.
Slather it on.
Dive in. Yes.
Yeah.
Aw, yay. It's been such a juicy show. Well, I want to give an invite for those that would like to know more about me and explore. Then you're welcome to just check out my website, and maybe Trish can type it in the but it's dawnlightamora.com. You're welcome to go there and read all about what I'm up to. There's lots of good testimonials there. Check it out. Love to have you. Just peruse the website.
Yay.
Oh, yay! Well, collaborations and connections abound for everyone.
For everyone. Yes.
For everyone. May you both be wildly abundant and And whoever is listening, may you also be wildly abundant, and we will share the abundance around. And whatever abundance can come to you, regardless of how we want it. I really want to thank Sign Network, Love Coach Academy, Global Peace Tribe. Oh, I'm missing one. Global Peace Tribe, and there's a couple others. Oh no, and KPFC for running us out on many, many different pages, as well as over the radio waves. And thank you again to Scott for always being the muse and for really being our support and our creation muse and and holding us. We'll see you next Thursday, same place, same time.